Good day, everybody. Welcome to Math Link. I am Mr. C, and I will be covering in this unit fractions, proper fractions, improper fractions, also lowest term and mixed numbers. So let's get started. Common fractions. So let's go over a few things about common fractions. A fraction is a value that shows the number of equal parts taken of a whole quantity. The symbol used to indicate this is usually a slash, or sometimes we use a bar. And so either one of those are okay for us to use as representing fraction. Really, a fraction indicates division, part of the whole. And so as we move forward, we want to look at common fractions. There are two parts to a fraction. The top part is called the numerator, and the bottom part is called the denominator. The top part, the numerator, it shows how many equal parts of the whole are taken, and the denominator shows how many parts are in the whole quantity. So the denominator shows the whole quantity, how many parts, and then the numerator shows how many equal parts of the whole are taken. As you look at this example, 5/8 or 5/8. The 5 is the numerator, which is the top number, and 8 is the denominator, which is the bottom number. Now, as we look at certain types of fractions, there are two types we want to talk about. We want to talk about proper fractions and improper fraction. Take a look at these numbers that I call proper fractions and also improper fraction and see what makes them different. Why do we call them proper? So a proper fraction is a number less than 1. That's very important. That means that the numerator is less than the denominator. For example, we have 3/4, 5/8, 99/100. Those are called proper fractions, where the numerator is less than the denominator. Improper fraction is a number greater than 1. For example, 4/3. That is an improper fraction because the numerator is greater than the denominator. 8/5 and 100/99, because of the same reason, those are improper fraction. Now, for fractions, they can be expressed in lowest terms by dividing the numerator and the denominator by the same number without changing the value. And so let's look at this particular example. We have 12/32. Now that is a proper fraction. So when you go over the lesson, you may want to say, is it proper or improper? Or as we go further in our lesson, is it a mixed number? So 12/32 is a proper fraction, and we want to reduce that into lowest terms. So one way we can do is say, what number goes in both 12 and 32 evenly, and then let's divide. So one of them, we can say, it says here, by 2. 2 goes into 12, and 2 goes into 32 evenly. 2 goes into 12 6 times, and 2 goes into 32 16 times. And so now we have another fraction, which is a proper fraction. It's 6/16. Now, a lot of times what you want to do is make sure you reduce it to the lowest term. Again, our key is the lowest term, and the key word here is lowest. This 6/16 is reduced, but it's not to the lowest term, because 2 can also go into 6, and 2 also can go in 16. And so let's continue to do the same thing we did before. And so what we can say is that 2 can go into 6 3 times, and 2 can go into 16 8 times. And that will be our answer, because 3/8 is the lowest terms. There's no other numbers beside 1 that can go into that evenly, 3 and 8. And so our answer be 3/8 is our lowest term. Let's look at another one using the same example. So I'm going to go back to the beginning, and I want to show you something that we also could have done to get the same answer. Now, as we had our whiteboard, we're going to use the same number we did before, 12 over 32. This is our proper fraction, same number, same fraction. And maybe some of you have noticed that not only 2 can go into 12 and 32, but also 4. So what I do on the top, I also do on the bottom. So if I divide both sides, top and bottom, numerator and denominator, by 4, because it goes in evenly, we end up here with 3 over 8. And that's what we got before. So a lot of times, if you get the greatest number that can go in both of them, you do not have to do any extra steps. It can give you or alleviate 1 or 2 steps. And we end up with the same answer, 3/8. Now let's look at one more example. One note I want to tell you is that you normally want to give your answers in the lowest term. So if you end up with the answer as 12 over 32, you don't want to say that. You want to reduce it to 3 over 8. So whenever you do your work, reduce your number or your fraction to the lowest term. So let's look what we have here. Let's look at another example and see if you can do the same thing. So I'm going to use this number, 24 over 32. Let's make it a little more challenging here. So what 2 numbers can go into 24 and 32? Let's look at that. Now, one thing we can't say is 2 goes into both of them. You always can start off with what you see easy and quick to see what goes into it. 2 goes into 24 12 times, 2 goes into 32. In our case, we have 16. Now, should we circle that? Is that our final answer? No, because we want to reduce this to the lowest terms, our fraction. Because 12 and 16, a number can go in both of those. Now, in this case, I don't want to necessarily keep using 2 over and over again. So I want to pick numbers that are higher because I know 2 can go into 16, excuse me, and also 12. So let's use another number. What other numbers can we use? We can use 2, which I'm not going to use. We also can use 4. I think 4 can go in that even. So let's try that. And so in this case, we have, how many times 4 goes in that? There'd be 3 times. So that, 8. And what we have here, excuse me, guys, that's not 8, Mr. C. There we go. Should be 4. There we go. Thank you for the correction. And so in this case, guys, it should be 3/4. And I think 3/4 is our final answer because besides 1, there's no other number that can go in there evenly. And so I shall circle that. So that's 3/4. Now, also I could have done, guys, this real quick. Using 24 over 32, I'll show you a little trick here. Notice we have 2 went into this, and also we had 8. Now let's do this. What is 2 times 8? 2 times 4. 2 times 4 is 8. Excuse me. I'm working ahead. I'm kind of excited to show you this. And so what I could have done is divide both sides by 8. Notice I'm going to circle this in orange. We did 2 and then we 4. But if I do it by 8, we could do it in one step. 4 is 8. And in this case, 8 goes into 24 3 times, 8. And then we need 8, 32 divided by 8 is 4. And what we have here is the same answer we got before, which is 3/4. And so that's another way to look at it. If you see a bigger number, and that's the best way, if you see a bigger number that can work, you can use that and we'll end up with the same answer, 3/4. And then we would like to circle that. I know on our screen, it has just a 3, but we also should have the 4 on the bottom, and then we can circle that like we have there. Again, try some of your own numbers and see if you can do and get to reduce the fraction to its lowest term. Next thing I want to talk about is mixed numbers as fractions. Let's quickly go over a mixed number or what a mixed number is. A mixed number is a whole number plus a fraction. It's a whole number plus a fraction. To express a mixed number as an improper fraction, find the number of fractional parts contained in the whole number. Add the fractional part to the whole number for the equivalence. So I want to show you this, guys. Let's look at this example. Here's an example we have here. We have 5 and 1 1/4, or 5 and 1/4. Now that number is an improper fraction. It's a mixed number. We want to make this into an improper fraction. It can be written as an improper fraction, but it's a mixed number because it has a whole part, which is the 5, and a fraction, which is the 1/4. Now, how do we make this as an improper fraction? Because we can convert this to an improper fraction. So I'm going to go to our whiteboard and I'm going to show you how we can make 5 and 1/4 as an improper fraction, as what we discussed earlier before. So here we are on our whiteboard, and we have 5 and 1/4. And basically what was said earlier is what we should do. I'm going to put this in red. We're going to go in a clockwise direction. And what we're going to do, we're going to multiply the denominator times that whole number. And then we're going to add whatever's in the numerator. So let's do that together. So in this case, the 4 for the denominator will stay as 4. 4 times 5 is 20, and then you add 1, which is 21. And that is the same value of 5 and 1/4. 21 over 4. And notice this is an improper fraction because the numerator is greater than the denominator. Let's look at another example. Let's look at this here. This is also a mixed number. We have a whole number, which is 6, and we have a fraction part, 2/3. Now let's convert that and make that a mixed number. Or excuse me, not a mixed number because it already is, but an improper fraction. So to make this an improper fraction, we're going to multiply the 3. Again, we're going to go clockwise. Multiply the 3 to 6, and then add that value to 2. So once I get started, I know my denominator is going to still be 3. So 3 times 6 is 18, plus 2 is 20. And so this is our improper fraction, and that's our answer. So I'm going to circle that. Now, we're going to also talk about how you can go back from an improper fraction to a mixed number. Again, this is going to be a division sign. This is dividing. So we're going to go back the other way. And so if you want to convert it back, you say 4. How many times the 4 goes into 21? And going back to our long division that we talked about in the previous unit, how many times the 4 go into 21 without going over? The closest number we have is 5, because 5 times 4 is 20. I couldn't use 6 because 6 times 4 would be 24, and that's bigger than 21. And then what we do, we subtract. Remember, we subtract. 1 comes down. Can 4 go into 1? No, that's going to be less, so that's our remainder. Now, how we write that, now watch how we write this. We're going to write this as 4 with our remainder is 1. You say, excuse me, let me erase this so you can see this. We use this value 5. I'm going to use the 5. Remainder over the divisor. And that's how you write a improper fraction as a mixed number. So this part was our remainder, and this part was our divisor. Okay. Let's look at this again. Let's look at another example. Again, 20 over 3. Let's use long division. What number you multiply by 3 without going over is close to 20. In our case, I think we can use 6, because 6 times 3 is 18. Put that, subtract. Here we have a 2. 3 cannot go into 2. And so that's our remainder. So how do I write this as a mixed number? This is what we do. We use our 6. So it'll be 6, and then our remainder part would be 2 over our divisor 3. And so that is 6 2/3. That's what that's equal to as a mixed number. Now let's go back to our previous page, and that's what we had before, 6 2/3. Okay, now let's look at our last example. Again, we're going to have a fractions as mixed numbers. So our example is this: when we want to express 60 over 32 as a mixed number. So express 60 over 32, which is an improper fraction as a mixed number. Now, if you notice, I don't know if you notice, improper fractions can be expressed as a mixed number. Not proper fractions, only improper fractions. So there's times you may want to convert your improper fraction as a mixed number or a mixed number as an improper fraction. So in this case, we'll let this PowerPoint show us how to do this. So we know we're going to divide 32 into 60. And what it says here that 1 times 32, because if we use 2 times 32, that will actually give us 64. It's bigger than 60, so only 1 will work for this case. So 1 times 32 is 32, notice that. And then we subtract. They don't show the subtraction sign, but I'll show you that right here. Here's our subtraction sign. We end up with 28. And so our remainder is 28. Now remember what we did? We put our remainder over our divisor. And so this would be 1, and we look at 28/32. Now in this case, I want to show you here that even though we have that as an answer, it can be reduced. Notice that's 28 over 32. We always want to reduce our fraction part. What numbers can go into 28 and 32? Now I gave you the answer as far as the final answer is 1 7/8. But we understand that 4 can go in both 28 and also 32. And so you always want to reduce to the lowest terms. And so our final answer would be, in this case, 1, and in this case, 7/8, where 1 is your whole number and 7/8 is your fraction. And again, always reduce your fraction to the lowest term if possible. So we're going to stop there. But if you have any questions or any other things that you want to look at as far as fractions, review this video again, or also look at some of the resources we have on a MathLink website to refresh yourself or to get more custom in doing and working with fractions. Hope this helped. Thanks.